When it's sleepy time down south, that is Louis Armstrong on Jazz FM 91. You know, he was known for many things when it comes to his music: his natural creativity, his showmanship, his sense of humor, his incredible ear, entertainment sensibility, and the list goes on. In 2012, thanks to a book called Little Satchmo, Living in the Shadow of My Father, Louis Daniel Armstrong, Sharon Preston-Folta let the world in on another role for which Louis was less known, that of a father. Sharon is Louis Armstrong's only child, but had to keep her existence a secret due to the fact that Louis was married to another woman during the time that he had a 2-decade-long affair with Sharon's mother, Lucille Preston. But that ended when her book was published, and now more people will learn of this other side of Louis's life, as well as the lives of his mistress and only daughter, Little Satchmo. The documentary based on Sharon's memoir is being featured at the Rogers Hot Dog Cinema as part of Doc Soup December. Sharon and documentary director John Alexander join me this morning. It is so good to see your faces on the computer screen, and I thank you for joining us on air this morning.
Thank you for
Great to be here. Thank you, Heather.
Absolutely. Now, so first of all, Sharon, how did the documentary come about?
Well, I work as an account executive for a public radio station here in Tampa. And one of my clients was the director of a festival. So she and I became very friendly, Leah Umberger, and I gave her a copy of the book. 2 years later, she called me after she had read the book and said that she had met a director and producer, husband and wife team, Crookie Nanny Productions. They had just done a film and featured it at a documentary festival or a festival here. And she said, I'd like to ask them if they'd like to be a part of the project. I want to produce your film. And then introduced me to John and his wife, JC.
I love it. John, what was your impression when you first heard about this project?
Yeah, I really was sort of, my first impression was sort of one of disbelief. I was very skeptical at the beginning of like, what do you mean Louis Armstrong's daughter? He didn't have any children. I thought I was the authority on Louis Armstrong, as we all feel, having claimed him as kind of an American icon. Turns out I couldn't be further from the truth. I don't know. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about his personal life. I'd known what I've heard, legends in New Orleans and kind of the stereotypical caricature reduction of Louis Armstrong. I didn't know about Louis Daniel Armstrong, the person. I didn't know about his desires, his secrets. And I realized that was really a loss on American culture, that we think we understand somebody, we don't. If we're actually interested in who this person is, maybe we should dig a little deeper and find out. So when I first read Sharon's memoir, it was like being run over by a bus. I couldn't even believe what was hitting me, and I was like, this is incredible. And Sharon's voice came through so strong in the book. We had some conversations initially. I was like, let's preserve your voice, preserve your perspective on this story, and get it out there and amplify it even more.
Even just from listening to the trailer, you're absolutely right, John. Sharon, hearing you speak about this, your openness, your honesty, how do you feel now that everything is being revealed in this way? Even more so than in the memoir. In the film, we get a chance to hear recordings, to look at photos. How does it feel for you to have this part of your life finally opened up?
In some sense, it's almost I have to pinch myself and just realize I look back to my childhood and how I had to just really keep everything clamped down. And now I speak about it so freely. It's a relief. So lighter. I actually feel lighter. I still carry the sadness of what was. I'm sad for myself and my mother and also my father, that we really missed out on each other. But then as an adult, I just really take a look at what we did have. And that helped me to really bring the story forward and celebrate what we did have and just lay it out and know that I'm not the only one that carries secrets, family secrets, disappointments, the loss of a love of a parent, and that voice is a voice of many people. So with that, I feel complete and very satisfied.
That is so good to hear, first of all. That makes me so happy.
I can imagine. I mean, did you guys discuss this, Sharon and John? Did you talk about, what the goals were, what Sharon's feelings might be once this, was all out there?
Not really.
Not really. I mean, if anything, we sort of hoped and prayed, I think individually. I think I was very clear at the beginning. I hope I was very clear that I wanted to not tamper with Sharon's telling of this story. I wanted it to be direct from the source, because Sharon is essentially a primary source. So I feel we did have conversations where, I was basically shutting down ideas to bring other people involved in the project. We did not want interviews. We did not want other, even if they're experts in their fields, I did not want other experts weighing in on Sharon's perspective, because the way I viewed it was Sharon actually lived this. Whether people, and there will be skeptics. People will ask, oh, well, what about DNA tests? What about this and that? Fine. The reality is Sharon lived this life, and she's the only person who's an authority on that subject. So in that way, we discussed it, that I wanted to preserve her voice. But no, in terms of the actual hopes of how would Sharon feel at the premieres and all this, I'm pleasantly, relieved and surprised that everything is going so well, and that so many people of all generations, of all backgrounds, seem to be coming up to Sharon and myself saying, how inspirational this story is and how it resonates with them.
There's definitely a story of hope, for sure. I'm sorry, Sharon, I didn't want to cut you off there. Continue, please.
No, I was just going to say, the one thing that I wanted, and I knew that the story would, have a life of its own, really, is to get it out and being authentic. And that was the one thing I communicated to John, JC, and Leah, and they got it. And from there, I pretty much have been hands off, and, and we work together. And the beauty of it is, for the four of us being strangers, and really six of us, with Eddie Corvin, associate director, music supervisor, and Sean Rhodes, an associate producer, and all of us doing our part. It's come together as if we've known each other and worked together, for years. Mm-hmm. And, that's the gift.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking with Sharon Preston-Folta and John Anderson, who are very much involved. John is the director of Little Satchmo, and Sharon is the voice of Little Satchmo, the story of the only daughter of Louis Armstrong. You mentioned music a moment ago, and I just want to talk very briefly about how much music is involved in this and what other artists. I know Wycliffe Gordon is involved, but talk a little bit more about that, Sharon, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm going to defer to John, because he, got worked with Eddie and got that happening.
John.
Good. Eddie Corvin, legendary composer, recording engineer, artist in his own right, dear friend of mine, close collaborator. I knew right away, involved in this project, that if we were doing anything vaguely Louis Armstrong related, that I needed Eddie. And I think I made that very clear right off the bat. If I'm doing this, Eddie's coming with me. And I had just had a conversation with Eddie before this project came my way, where Eddie basically said, I'm available and I would love to do some interesting projects. So what a godsend Eddie has been, editorially, musically, and he's such a quiet but strong presence. So he did bring Wycliffe Gordon. He wrote an original song called Song for Sharon, which is the end credits song of the film, and it's sort of teased throughout the film, in samples and motifs throughout the film, but then it comes to a full blossom at the end. And he got Wycliffe Gordon involved in that, another legendary horn player, and some other great artists who produced that track. That's kind of the highlighted original piece. Other than that, it's a lot of Louis Armstrong material, which Eddie helped curate. Sharon weighed in with her preferences. I weighed in with my preferences, and we came up with a sound that's representative of Sharon's father in the story.
Love it. One more question before I let you go. I know it's a very busy time as you're getting ready to launch this. Sharon, do you ever wonder about how this will have Louis perceived? I mean, we've all felt, as John mentioned off the top, we all feel like we know him based on his music. we didn't know him. Do you worry about people, thinking of him differently, about, this other part of his life being, well, not exactly 100% perfect? He could have perhaps acted differently. Is that a concern at all of yours? How do you feel where that's concerned?
I'm hoping that they perceive him differently, because that the image that is out there is not of a complete human. No one is that super, saint. No one is. And, I want people to know, with all of his greatness, he was human. He did have flaws. He did the best that he could. And that he did love us in his way, whether I agree that it was enough or all that I wanted or the way it should have been. None of that really matters. He was a complete person. So I hope people do perceive him as a complete human being now.
Very well said. I thank you both so much for joining me this morning. First of all, the memoir is wonderful. I look forward to seeing the documentary, and I wish you all, the whole team, the best of luck with it. We look forward to hearing more from you, and crossing fingers, we're going to get to see you in Toronto in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, absolutely. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Indeed. Little Satchmo will be featured at the Hot Docs Ted Rogers Cinema as part of Doc Soup December on Wednesday, December 15th at 7 p.m., followed by a Q&A, crossing fingers that they can get up here for this, by Sharon and John. For tickets and information, visit hotdocs.ca. And for more information on the film, and I really encourage you to do this, go to check out the website, littlesatchmodoc.com. Here's a little more Louis for us on Jazz FM 91. Thanks again to Sharon and John.
Thank you.